NICU baby did not have a single visitor for 5 months, so nurse decides to be her mom. Every once in a while, motherhood will find someone in surprising and unexpected ways. That lesson was made clear for a nurse in Brighton, Massachusetts, who wound up adopting her daughter after the premature infant was under her care at the hospital for 5 months without one visitor. Gisele, now a vibrant, active 2-year-old toddler, is now the light of Liz Smith's life, and the devoted mom has decided to share her unique and heartwarming adoption experience with the world. Smith first looked into her daughter's bright blue eyes in 2016 when Gisele was a patient at her hospital for neonatal abstinence syndrome. Boston.com reports that Smith, who at the time was the director of nursing at Franciscan Children's Hospital in Brighton, Massachusetts, was walking over to the elevator at work when she saw something that made her stop in her tracks. It was a beautiful baby girl with bright blue eyes and a tiny little brown curl framing her face. "Who is this beautiful angel?" she recalled asking a nurse who was wheeling the girl down the hall, according to Boston.com. "Her name is Gisele," the nurse replied. Gisele arrived at Franciscan Children's Hospital 5 months prior and had remained there. The infant was a ward of the state who'd been born prematurely at another hospital in July 2016. When she was born, Gisele only weighed 1 pound and 14 ounces. The little girl was suffering from neonatal abstinence syndrome, a condition in which infants are in withdrawal from certain drugs they were exposed to during the mother's pregnancy. Often these drugs include opioids like prescription drugs and heroin. The state removed Gisele from her birth mother's care when she was 3 months old and moved her to NICU at Franciscan Children's Hospital because her lungs required specialised treatment. The little angel also developed an oral aversion, a common problem in babies who have never experienced pleasure from eating that made her not want to eat. At Smith's hospital, she had to be placed on a gastronomy tube to help feed her. But although she was starting to improve, she was still falling behind certain developmental milestones. Franciscan was providing excellent care, Smith explained, but she had just never been outside the hospital. Gisele was also badly in need of a foster family if she was ever to get back on track with her development. However, in the 5 months that she was at the hospital, she received not a single person coming to see the baby girl. Her social service workers were trying, without success, to place the child in a foster home. "Gisele," Smith told herself as she drove home, "I'm going to foster this baby. I'm going to be her mother." Smith says that she always wanted to be a mom, but her life had not opened the right path to parenthood yet. Franciscan Children's twittered, "Liz Smith, Director of Nursing, knew from a young age that she wanted to follow in her mother's footsteps and become a paediatric nurse. What she didn't know is that her nursing career would lead her to find her daughter." As Smith told the Boston Globe, it was her mother who first gave her inspiration professionally and later personally for how she would eventually bring children into her life. "My mom was a paediatric nurse who always put others first," she said. "So I grew up wanting to be a nurse too." After her mom died when Smith was 19 years old, she said that she found her calling in living a selfless life as a way to honour her mother's memory. But as Smith entered her 40s, the nurse began to wonder when her family life was to begin. "My definition of family was always, in my 20s I'll get married, have kids, and have a big family like the one I grew up with," she explained to the Boston Globe. "I think a lot of women can relate to the pressure that we feel that there's an order to do things." First, she decided to try and get pregnant on her own, attempting several rounds of IUI, which did not work. She was also devastated to find out that she could not try in vitro fertilization. Her lab results had changed, thus disqualifying her for IVF, so her insurance company would not approve the procedure. "I never imagined becoming a mom would be a challenge," she said, according to Boston.com. "It's a desire you can try to push away and fill with other distractions, but it never goes away." But when she first set eyes on Gisele, she immediately felt a connection. "Since the moment I met her, there was something behind her striking blue eyes capturing my attention," she said. "I felt that I needed to love this child and keep her safe." Once Smith made up her mind, she didn't waste any time in making her intentions to be Gisele's mother her new reality. Smith swiftly put in a request to adopt baby Gisele, and as she waited for the paperwork to go through, she would visit her soon-to-be daughter every day after work. She would speak softly to the infant and sit next to her crib to let her know that she was no longer alone in the world. She was behind developmentally, and I wanted to get her out of the hospital and get her thriving, she recalled. 3 weeks later, Smith finally received the news she'd been waiting for. Gisele was hers, despite the state indicating that they would make every effort to reunite Gisele with her birth parents, the same ones who never visited her in the hospital. Regardless, Smith was still going to celebrate the momentary victory anyway. Her friends at work threw Smith a baby shower, even though her situation was not yet permanent. "I was excited but nervous, realizing that I was committing everything I had to this child who might not be in my life forever," she said. For a while, after Smith got temporary custody, Gisele's birth parents were allowed weekly supervised visits. However, their permanent reunification with Gisele was ultimately decided not to be in the best interest of the child. Thus, their parental rights were terminated. Without any other family member to take care of the infant, it seemed more and more likely that Gisele would become Liz's daughter. "The day I got the call that their parental rights were terminated was very sad," Smith recalled. "My gain was another's loss. It's a feeling difficult to describe when you're experiencing this life-changing moment that someone else is as well, in the opposite way. The bottom line is, it's devastating for another family." Under Smith's loving care, Gisele began to flourish developmentally. By Halloween 2017, when she was 15 months old, Gisele could walk and even say a few words. Her first word was badoon for balloon, Smith recalled. Today we still call it that. Finally, after a long wait, on October 18, 2018, Gisele and Liz officially became mother and daughter. Friends and family surrounded Liz as a judge signed off on Gisele's adoption papers and presented Smith with the official legal documentation proclaiming her to be Gisele's legal guardian. "When I became Gisele's mom, it really was a feeling that I can't even describe," she told the Boston Globe. "It was this relief and stability and just so much to look forward to without all of the questions and the unknown. This is the mother and daughter relationship my sister has waited a long time for," Smith's brother Phil told Boston.com. "It's plain to see that they have brought a completeness to each other." Gisele still requires the help of a feeding tube, but she's now eating and looking healthier every day. Her mom describes the toddler as an energetic, loving little girl who loves to burst into song. Her new favourite song is "You Are My Sunshine," Smith explained, "and every time she sings it, I think to myself, you have no idea." Please share this beautiful story with your loved ones.
Well, I don't know, I think you'd have to have a heart of stone if that didn't touch you somewhere deep inside. If you like these kinds of videos, then please subscribe because we've got stacks of this kind of stuff. It's what we do. So click subscribe and then click the little bell that appears so that you'll get notifications each time we upload a new video. Don't forget to share it with your friends and let us hear your comments in the boxes below. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the video.